Hello, YouTube. I'm back. After a long hiatus, I got a new job, sick, and so much has been happening at once that I kind of let the channel go for a moment. But I'm back now, and so are Shaddolls. I'm so excited right now because Shaddolls is one of my favorite all-time strategies, and I was kind of getting burned out on Yu-Gi-Oh with the whole shock of the new format and like not knowing what to do with any of my decks, and I felt like I was just waiting for the Shaddoll structure deck to come out, and it's finally here, and it totally reinvigorates the deck, and I just can't wait to dig into it. So without further ado, let's get on into it, shall we? Alright, starting with the new MVPs of the deck, we have 3 Predaplant Scorpio and 1 Cobra. This grabs you your entire fusion engine, basically. So it searches anything with fusion or poly in its name. So these are basically just extra copies of Shaddoll Fusion, Super Poly, El Shaddoll Fusion, and I have a teched in Metal Foes Fusion because I find that these cards work really great in tandem. Metal Foes is constant draw power, so if you draw your other fusion cards and you have Cobra, it's not dead, basically. You can still, or you have Scorpio, you can still plus, basically, and go ahead and draw a card because a lot of the cards in deck just require you to discard and stuff like that, so just all helps. So basically 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 1 El Shaddoll, 2 Super Poly, and 1 Metal Foes. I'm thinking of maybe bumping up the fusion count, but that would be with Invocation mainly. That would be the next thing that I add. For the last of our normal summons, I am doing 1 Armageddon Knight. He's just staple summon. Whenever he is summoned, you can send a Dark to Graveyard, and he has no limit on the level that he can send. Plus, the Predaplant engine kind of really replaces the mathematicians. Shek is good, but I'd really prefer Winda, Construct, App Cologne, and if I'm going to expand, it would be into the Invoked engine. Now for our Shaddoll count. 1 Shaddoll Kios. I would get rid of him. I did not like the way he played at all today. Or yesterday, it didn't work. Like, it's there, it's a light target, that's kind of cool, but he didn't put in any work, really. 2 Shaddoll Falco for late game recursion. Getting Construct and Winda back is cute, and it actually does come up later game, at least for me. I am trying to shove my opponent into a grind state with this deck. This is 50-card dolls, so you are going to find yourself wanting for resources out of your graveyard. 2 Hedgehog. Becomes any other Shaddoll in hand, so if you can get him out of your hand before you fuse, you can grab Wendy, who is honestly the best new Shaddoll. I definitely want to bump her up to 3, but I don't know if after adding the Invoked engine I'm going to have room. I don't like playing 50 cards, but I really feel like this deck warrants it because the kind of game state I'm trying to put my opponents in, and I really want to have resources throughout the duel. 2 Squamata. This is another one I want to bump up to 3 because it's just any other Shaddoll, basically. So in hand, drawing it, it's the best Shaddoll because you can turn it into Wendy, you can turn it into Falco, you can turn it into Beast, everything you need, and it just works out for you. 1 Ariel. She was MVP. Her banish effect really messes people up. They still aren't expecting that, and her flip effect can be used in a weird going second combo that I'm still rusty on. I need to relook at the combo and figure out what I'm doing with it. Round 1, I played against Danny, and we drew. He played this Mayakashi zombie variant with like this zombie boss monster that kept negating and banishing my stuff, and he just kept hitting my Shaddolls, and I couldn't recur anything, so that game ended up being a tie, basically. But getting on with the deck profile, 1 Shaddoll Dragon and 2 Beast. Dragon is actually really awesome for the Compulse and the Pop. Both come up, so that's pretty fun. Beast is another one I want to bring up to 3 just because he's extra cards, and he's oftentimes what I'm trying to bring back with Falco because I want the draw and getting deeper into my deck rather than just resummoning Construct or Winda again and again. Round two, I played against Jesus' Spiral, which I lost against because I just completely misplayed. I didn't activate Shaddoll Fusion while he had extra deck monsters on field like an idiot. Like I was trying to clear stuff and I just messed up. Extended with my dangers first and then that didn't work out. Round three, I dueled a kid. It was pretty fun. I was just mainly teaching him how to play the game, like showing him mechanics and stuff. He managed to kill my Avermax and then stole it back and killed me with it. So that was a pretty fun game, honestly, and I had a good time just kind of showing him how the game worked. Back on with the deck profile, one Rush Shaddoll Incarnation and a Shaddoll Core. I'm honestly thinking of just turning Core into another Incarnation. I really like how Incarnation played, and Core is not really necessary if you're using App Cologne to her full potential and you're really watching all of your triggers. And that's another thing with this deck is you really do need to watch all of your triggers. If you forget one resource, it completely changes the course of your game. It's the difference between being able to continue and keep playing and not. For my fourth game, who did I duel for my fourth game? I don't know. It was a fun back and forth. I think it was the game I won, too. I'm not sure what it was, though. I honestly forget. And then my last game in round 5 was against Ricky, which was the mirror match. His budget Shaddolls versus my basically full-out Shaddolls here. And he managed to stick it out to the end, and I only won because of a Gizmek OTK. But I should probably show you guys a bit more of the deck profile first. So, 2 Tsuchinoko. I think the dangers are best for this deck. I saw the second place deck profile playing Desires. I don't like that for this deck. I get the mentality behind it, especially because I need it in my Blackwings and stuff like that. But in Shaddolls, you want your stuff to be going to the graveyard anyway. You need all of your combo pieces to do certain things, and you really end up in that grind state a long time. You're trying to put your opponent under window a lot of times and win battles of attrition. So I think Dangers extending, getting you into your Vital Link monsters rather than Pot of Desires is a much better way of playing the game. So basically your standard package, Jackalope, 2, 1 Nessie, Nessie's limited, Thunderbird, and Bigfoot. Thunderbird and Bigfoot I chose because of their popping abilities. Getting on though, for our Performage engine, I play a pretty decent package of 2 Juggler, 1 Trick Clown, 1 Hat Tricker. I think it works pretty well. I like Hat Tricker for the extensions. Having the second search off of Damage Juggler a lot of the times is good. I like activating Damage Juggler as a hand trap. If anything to change this ratio, I might drop Hat Tricker down 1 and add Damage Juggler just because stopping the battle damage, it didn't come up at locals the other day, stopping the battle damage at all. Like, it just didn't work out. I had to use it for other things, like fusioning off and stuff like that, but it's a hand trap, and it's a hand trap that people forget about, so it might do you well. Next up, Gizmek. I have a real love-hate relationship with this card. When it works, and when it doesn't, it just loses you games, but you only activate this if you have to, basically. Like, in really bad game states where I'm going to lose anyway, I'll use Gizmek if it's in my graveyard, but a lot of the times, like, I just want to leave it sitting there, and all I'm going to use it for is closing the game. Next up, 1 White Dragon and 1 Black Dragon. I would literally play any other Chaos monster. BLS or Chaos Dragon Legionnaire are both better decisions in my opinion, and honestly, like, 1 BLS and 1 Chaos Dragon Legionnaire leaves you the same attribute mix and deck. Getting into the spell lineup though, I do agree with Triple Allure, especially after the release of Aerial. Triple Called by the Grave. The deck is very sensitive to hand traps. I luckily didn't see any. Hand traps don't seem to be that prevalent right now. I really do want the Invoked package though, just for more search. And then for my last bit of spells, Foolish Burial Goods, Foolish Burial, and Pot of Avarice. Foolish Burial Goods sends Resh, sends Core, sends your Shaddoll stuff to grave. A lot of the times you're making some of your Shaddolls without actually using Shaddoll Fusion or any Shaddoll Fusion, so when they die, you don't get anything off. So Foolish Burial Goods is just a good one of to have in the deck. It also sends Metal Foes Fusion to the graveyard, and things like that really can change your game up and just adds consistency in a way that Upstart just doesn't. Getting into the extra deck, though. 2 Cross Sheep. I probably gonna have to bump this down to 1 afterwards. I really like the 2. Having the option to go into the second one was helpful, but not necessary. I want to add the Invoke package like I was telling you guys. 1 Masquerena. Shoutouts to Raul. I really hope I can trade him for this officially and actually own this. For now, I'm just borrowing it, but it's a huge help. This deck's weakness is interaction with your opponent on their turn. That's what made me lose to Danny, basically, or us to draw, because I couldn't negate the zombie monster's effects, and I really just needed Makaba. But IP Masquerena is another way to interact with the opponent on their turn, using stuff like Unicorn, and Unicorn can send a couple things to the grave. You can't really send Shaddolls to the grave with it. They won't go off. Shaddolls don't go off of costs. A lot of people don't remember that. Another thing to remember with Shaddolls is you can't activate their send and flip effects in the same turn. If so, that would be broken, and the deck would have been still hit a long time ago. Like, honestly, I don't get why people forget that. Probably just not reading. Curious Lightsworn. I wasn't able to get into this as often as I would like, and it's probably going to have to come out by adding the Invoked package. But if you're going to play like a pure Danger Extender variant with the Predaplant engine and everything, it's very possible to get into this, and it sends almost anything you need to grave. It's an extra Foolish from the extra deck, and then you mill a couple cards, and almost all of the cards in deck want to be sent to grave anyway, so more options for you. BLS, he's just a really good option to go into. I don't like going Link 4 a lot unless I already have Links on the board, and turning my constructs into BLS and then bringing constructs off of like Shaddoll aerial plays is good. Haven't done that yet, but as I get more used to the deck, more used to the play lines, that'll become easier and easier to do. Avermax, I like having multiple boss monsters to climb into. It just helps overall with the feel of the deck, and playing against the rogue decks I do at locals, it's just better to have things like Avermax. If I were to add anything in here Link monster-wise, it would be Boral Sword, and if I could afford it, Apollosa, but she's $115 right now, and I'm not spending that much on a card, for real. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Moving on into the Shaddoll part of the extra deck, we're playing 2 Winda. You don't really need more. You could play 3 if you're going like ultra pure, but I was trying to run the most competitive extra deck I could, like utilizing boss monsters outside of Shaddolls to throw my opponent off like BLS, like Avermax, so that if you had an out for one thing, you didn't have an out for another, and stuff like that. Just putting my opponents into game states that don't work for them. 2 App Cologne. I'm still not sure how to use this 100%, and I think that's why I didn't do so well. I need to find situations where it's worth going into how to send it to graveyard, stuff like that, so that it just does generally better. It is a negate though, and it's a continual negate. Like, as long as that card stays up on the field, it's negated, which people tend to forget. Triple Construct, since this is a pure variant, I really love Construct back at 3. And then finally, a super poly target, Starving Venom, just for finishing games, or if my opponent's just supplying dark monsters, it's just advantage. It's simple as that. And I would show you the side, but it didn't really matter. I didn't use it. I was more so learning how to play this deck, and I knew since very early on in the tournament that I wasn't going to be topping or anything, so I just had a good time with it, had fun, did my own thing. It's really fun to be back talking to you guys, giving strategies again, being back on YouTube. I'm hoping to be a bit more consistent. I'm starting to get used to my job. I'm just getting off of being sick, which is why my voice sounds so horrible, but it is what it is. And I wanted to come back because I was super excited for Shaddolls to be back in such a powerful state. It's really, really cool to see Shaddolls evolve again. And because the community voted for it, I'm so glad it beat out the Sacred Beast deck. I'm so glad that this was the structure deck that I could buy on Friday. And I was so excited to find and have. It was just absolutely awesome to see this deck step up. Wendy completely changes the deck. It's exactly what we needed. Ariel is just gravy. The trap is pretty awesome, and we have future upcoming support. Whether that becomes competitive, who knows? But I'm glad to see you guys again. I'm happy to be back, and hopefully I'll be bringing you some more Shaddoll content soon. Peace.